reputation. To have honor was to be heroic and manly. An honorable man was free of debt and not dependent on any man. It was to have an unblemished, upstanding integrity and dignity. Federalist Fisher Ames thought that Hamilton was inflexible on every point of honor. Undoubtedly, Hamilton was gravely committed to the code of honor. Hamilton was involved in nearly a dozen challenges about honor that nearly led to duels, even while serving in the army and as a statesman. Ultimately, the duel with Aaron Burr took Hamilton's life too early and negated any further contributions to the rising republic. Hamilton was just as serious about the national honor because its politics, economy, and national security were key ingredients in its reputation abroad and its very survival. His decades of public service were spent in crafting an honorable constitutional republic and capitalist economy. For a man of humble, and some would have said dishonorable, origins, Hamilton doubly felt that he had to prove himself worthy among other American statesmen. This was especially true when his political opponents would not let him forget his difficult early impoverished circumstances and official illegitimacy. Nor would they let him forget he was an immigrant, a foreigner to the United States. Even though many important founders were born in other countries, Hamilton's enemies used it as a weapon to question his patriotism and loyalty to American principles. The charges were personally insulting and patently absurd for a war hero, congressman, author of The Federalist, and the first Treasury Secretary. Not that Hamilton was merely a victim of vicious personal attacks. He brought on several problems himself. He seemed to have a bit of a chip on his shoulder, likely because of his lowly childhood, that made him prone to have a thin skin. He was at times arrogant due to his brilliance and dismissive of opposing views. While his judgment was usually good and his political strategic sense was often keen, his huge lapses sometimes surprised his contemporaries as much as they baffle us today. The disastrous public revelation of the sexual liaison with Maria Reynolds and his party infighting with John Adams were only two examples of exercising poor judgment. He placed himself in difficult personal challenges that robbed him of happiness and suffered dire political consequences for his political career building the Republic. Hamilton's tragic flaws make him all that much more interesting to study. American politicians during this period were rarely unified in their visions and policies. This was just as true in the Revolutionary War, Confederation period, and debate over the Constitution as it was during the notably partisan and vicious 1790s. The contentious Hamilton contributed a hefty portion of divisiveness to national councils. Yet his political vision of national union and his financial vision for a unified and dynamic economy helped bring the nation together constitutionally and economically in his key role as nation builder. Alexander Hamilton has obviously been the subject of much recent popularity, even frenzied adoration. Lin-Manuel Miranda's Broadway play was a stroke of creative genius that has unleashed a wave of Hamilton mania and popular interest in the history of the American Revolution and founding. The play helped to restore Hamilton to the pantheon of founding fathers in the popular imagination. 3 excellent biographies of Hamilton stand out in a growing library of books dealing with the subject. Historian Forrest MacDonald wrote the brilliant academic study, Alexander Hamilton, a Biography, which remains a standard of scholarship 40 years later. Biographer and historian Richard Brookhiser has penned numerous biographies of the founders, including the excellent Alexander Hamilton American, which is a Plutarchian study of character as well as examination of his American continental outlook. Miranda's play was based upon the magisterial biography Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow, which has been devoured by Hamilton fans. There are numerous excellent books that study Hamilton's relationship with other founders, fine academic books on his political philosophy, or that examine his reputation in history. But if a curious person walks into a bookstore, chances are that their only option will be the massive Chernow tome that may frighten them away. This biography seeks to place a brief, readable book into the hands of interested readers. It is consciously popular history aimed at a general audience who may have watched a few documentaries or read a couple of books on the founders.